licensed as an attorney, mortgage broker, and a top producing realtor who's crushing the competition. Here to deliver you what's happening in the trenches of the market. Your host, Michael Gaddis.
Welcome to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis of michaelgaddis.com and frontierloangroup.com. And I am here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. talking about anything and everything related to real estate. And this time I stressed anything because I had the pleasure of talking to another radio show host from Los Angeles, one that I will not mention their name, but I will tell you I had a lengthy discussion with them about, the best ways to have a radio show and how to really, come across to listeners. And it was a very insightful meeting. And I kind of told him, the format of how I do my show. I've told him I've been doing it for, since I think July. So July, August, September, October, November, December. So about 6 months now I've been doing this show. And one of the things he told me is he said, look, you're a very knowledgeable guy. You have a lot of experience in a lot of different areas, and you have a lot to offer your audience. And he says, but you have to be careful not to come across to, I guess just to lecturer, like I'm lecturing to people. He says you need to let your personality and your experiences and your knowledge come out. You need to be unique because you are a unique person. So he said, if my advice to you would be to let your personality flow and to try to basically, relay information to your listeners in a way that is entertaining and who you are, and not just a robot up here reading off papers or, discussing, really in-depth information in a lecture-like manner. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to introduce you to Michael Gaddis and who I am, and I'm going to start dipping into myself to really kind of show you guys who I am and to share the information and knowledge that I have. Now, one thing that I've always kind of steered away from discussing is politics. In general, politics is one of the most divisive things that you can talk about. In fact, I was talking to my 13-year-old nephew recently. Actually, I think he's 14 now. He soon will be 14. My 14-year-old nephew, and I told him, look, there's two things you have to stay away from talking about in general. One is politics, and the other is religion. You stay away from those two topics, and you will be able to have decent conversations with anybody. And he says, well, I like to express my opinion. And I said, well, you can express your opinion. I said, but just be prepared that somebody else is going to have an equally passionate opinion. And if you do that, then you're going to be prepared for some sort of verbal altercation. It almost always happens discussing those two topics, religion and politics. Now, with that being said, I'm going to give you my opinion on politics really quickly here, and even though I said it's a divisive topic that I shouldn't talk about, but I really, really think it's interesting. Now, I'm not necessarily affiliated as a Republican or a Democrat. I would consider myself an independent, and I kind of look at the individuals based upon what they claim and their platforms, their individual platforms, not necessarily their party platforms. But one thing I will tell you is that, in my opinion, we're dealing with basically opposite sides of the same coin. And I think that the more you watch these debates and the more you kind of really listen to these speeches that these candidates are giving, I don't understand why everybody's just not laughing. I mean, it's almost hilarious, because let's figure it this way. What kind of people spend millions and millions and billions of dollars trying to win a political office that pays them about $400,000 a year? Now, that tells you something right there. Not only that, but the people who are candidates subject themselves to immense amounts of scrutiny. Now, everybody in the world has skeletons in their closet that they don't like, they don't want the rest of the world to know. But when you become a political candidate, you're like, you have a bullseye on you. And you have there's they have people running around doing private investigators digging up everything in your life. They're talking to your the little girl that sat next to you in kindergarten, asking if you did anything unusual. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're digging up everything, and you voluntarily subject yourself to this. So in doing so, it really is kind of scary who would be willing to do that. But we have our candidates now, and I want to tell you that. I think that if you sat down with either candidate from either party and you were having a beer or just sitting around somewhere where there were no cameras, there was no recordings, it was just a friendly conversation, and you asked them what their real opinions on topics were, I guarantee you what their real opinions are different than what they portray to the public, because they're trying to get elected, so they're trying to hit the general masses and not necessarily proclaiming their own beliefs. And, I just think over time, politics has not changed. It hasn't changed from hundreds and hundreds of years. And I'll give you an example of that. You're listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis of michaelgaddis.com and frontierloangroup.com. And I am giving you my opinion on politics in general. So anyway, I want to talk about an author in particular, and his name's Jonathan Swift. Jonathan Swift wrote a book called Gulliver's Travels. And whenever I talk about Gulliver's Travels to anybody or mention it, everybody says, oh, you mean that little kids movie? Oh, that little kids movie? And it's funny is that Gulliver's Travels is probably one of the most, it's a satire, first of all, and it's one of the most dense books you will ever meet as far as or ever read as far as symbolism is concerned. But I want to take you into the world of Gulliver's Travels for a second. In the Gulliver's Travels, you have a man who gets shipwrecked on an island. And when he wakes up, he realizes that he's stranded on an island with very tiny people. And these tiny people are, he thinks that they're the most beautiful people that he's ever seen. And so he starts living with these little people. And as he does, he starts discovering things about them. And one of the things he discovers is that their political system is basically divided up between two parties, just like ours. Now, one of them is called the low heels, and the other is called the high heels. Basically, the people who think alike either wear high heels or low heels. And, what Jonathan Swift is really talking about is the difference between, in his time, the Tories and the Whigs, the two political parties of the time. But we'll not talk about that. We're just going to talk about the two political parties of the time. And the leader, the emperor, is a low heel, and he will only put low heel people into positions of power, no matter how qualified a high heel might be. In other words, the guy can be a complete imbecile, but the emperor, because he's only going to align himself with low heels, will only put low heels in political offices. So it just kind of shows you that political affiliation trumps ability, no matter what, even in the time of Jonathan Swift. And Gulliver's Travels was published in 1726. Now, it's a very shallow environment that they have there. And one of the other things that I thought was the most entertaining about is that the Lilliputians, the little people, are at war with another little people. And the reason they're at war is because of an egg. The Lilliputians believe that you should crack an egg on the big side. And their adversaries, the other little people, believe you should crack it on the small side. And they're literally having a war over how you crack an egg. And Gulliver, of course, when he's there, proposes, well, hey, why don't you just crack the egg in the middle? And they both, just consider this the most nonsensical answer at all. You can't crack an egg in the middle. You either have to crack it in the big side or the little side. And they're literally at war over this. And these are just examples of kind of the political satire in Gulliver's Travels, which is now, as I mentioned, just considered a children's novel, but it's just packed full of satire and symbolism and all types of things. And I just wanted to bring that up because if you read Gulliver's Travels and then you look at our political system today, it's the same thing. We have Democrats and Republicans. They had low heels and high heels. We fight over nonsensical things. And, until we reform our political system, this is what we're going to have. And it looks like it's been going on for hundreds of years, so it probably will. Now, here's my little thing on what we should do to start reforming our politics. One, we should do term limits on every single major office. President, you should give him 1 6-year term. There should not be 2 4-year terms, because then the president spends the latter half of the first term worried about getting reelected. And we need to take that completely off the table. Once you're elected, you get 1 6-year term. Senators, 2 6-year terms. That's it. After 2 6-year terms, you either move to another political office or you're done in the Senate. And House of Representatives, you should give them 6 2-year terms. So if you limit these, then we kind of prevent having career politicians, because what happens when you have politicians is that they become detached from society and they forget about, what it's like to be almost a normal person, so to speak, and they only worry about the life of politics and being elected and reelected and reelected again. And that, I think, is one of the downfalls of our political system is that we are subject to career politicians. And, I could go back in time and tell you, and in an undergraduate school, I majored in history with a emphasis in classical history. So I could give you all kinds of references throughout time about, different political theories on, how government should be run and, how people looked at leaders and politicians. But we don't have time for that today. And many of you are probably saying, thank God. But I have a lot more of that, and I'm going to give it more to you at a later time. But after the break, we're going to go back to real estate and talk about expired listings. Why did your listing expire? You're listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer.
AM 1170, The Answer.
Hey, Craig Sewing here, consumer activist. You hear me every day at 6 p.m. on KCBQ. My goal is to help you win in any marketplace. One of the things that applies to every single person that listens to our show and that's listening right now, you have a credit score, and more likely than not, it has inaccuracies on it. Nobody seems to understand how these things work. Here's what I can tell you. I have a credit expert that's a partner in the show named Aran Sinai. I call him the credit magician. If you've ever had any issues with your credit, you want to get your scores up, maybe a foreclosure, bankruptcy, or maybe just a collection. The city of San Diego can send parking tickets to collections. Crazy. Well, bad credit's a choice. Reach out to Aran Sinai. How do you do that? You go to our website, AmericanDreamElite.com. AmericanDreamElite.com. Hit me up on the contact form. I'll connect you with Aran. AmericanDreamElite.com. If you've ever had any credit issues whatsoever, AmericanDreamElite.com.
Who would you rather have representing you when buying or selling your home? A real estate agent or a real estate and mortgage broker who is also a licensed California attorney? To sell your home for top dollar, or if you're facing a forced sale due to divorce, probate, short sale, or bankruptcy, you'll need the added value and marketing services of a realtor with the knowledge and experience of a licensed attorney and mortgage broker on your side.
Hi, I'm Michael Gaddis. I give you more, but it doesn't cost you more.
Visit MichaelGaddis.com. That's Michael, Gaddis.com. DRE 0146543 and MLS 80011.
Hi, this is AJ Gupta from the Gupta Legal Center. You've probably seen us on the American Dream TV show and the Craig Sewing radio show. We're honored to be featured as the exclusive real estate attorney and honored to be trusted by Craig and all of his top producing realtors. Our office was also featured as a super lawyer representing California's top 5% of attorneys. You may not know whether you need an attorney or not. My suggestion is you kind of have an idea whether there's a problem or a question. So I suggest if you don't know whether you need an attorney or not, give us a call. We're happy to pick up the phone, give you a call back, figure out what it is that you need to have addressed. If we can't or don't know the issue, then we can definitely point you in the right direction. Our phone number is 619-866-3444. That's 619-866-3444, and that's GuptaLC.com. GUPTALC.com.
Welcome back to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis of MichaelGaddis.com. And we're back now, and we're going to talk about why your listing expired. I know that a lot of people out there put their house on the market, and when you put your house on the market, you list your house with an agent, you can put it on for a certain amount of time, and that's called the listing period. Once your listing period expires, obviously your listing expires. Now, when real estate professionals put your listing into the MLS, they have to put the listing end date. So as soon as your listing expires, you have a bullseye on you, and every single real estate professional in the county knows that you have tried to sell your house and it didn't work out. So that is why you are probably getting 5,000 calls every hour, because people are with people trying to tell you why they're the best person to sell your house and this and that. Now, I sometimes will approach people who have expired listings. And what I offer when I do it at my company is I offer them a forensic analysis of why I believe your listing expired. And there could be lots of reasons, and maybe you think you know the reason. Maybe it's because, you think your price too high, or maybe you got into an argument with your real estate professional about something. But I want to kind of go a little bit through kind of the things that I look for and when I look at expired listings. The first thing I look for is, obviously price. I mean, price is the obvious reason. Was your price too high? Or was it, what was the problem? Now, a lot of times that pricing issues can come down to one of two problems. One, it could be the real estate professional kind of encouraged you to sell at a price that wasn't realistic. And that could be maybe because he or she was trying to get the listing in the first place, so he was kind of pushing the limits of what he really believed he could sell it for to make you excited so that you'd sign right away. Or it could be because maybe you had unrealistic expectations about what your house is worth. A lot of times people get emotionally charged because, well, I did this to the kitchen, and I put these types of floors in, and I replaced the roof, and I did this in the yard, and I put this in, and they start adding up the costs that they put into their house, and they start adding it on to what they believe the fair market value is, and they try to get a lot more money than the house will obviously sell for. And so, but again, I'll come around and say that this is probably, again, a problem with the real estate professional, because I'm not one of those people who come to your house and tell you what you want to hear. That's not my job. You don't hire me to help you sell your house to tell you what you want to hear. You hire me to tell you what I think and what I think is realistic. That's what should be important to you. Because if I just came over there and told you what, I could do that all day long, and I'd have 1 million listings on the MLS by just telling people everything that they want to hear in the world. But I don't do that because that's not real. And what ends up happening is you get a lot of expired listings that way, because it doesn't do you any good for me to come in there and tell you that I could sell your house for $100,000 more than I really think it can. And even if you have an unreasonable belief about what you think it should be, I should be strong enough to tell you, look, and here's what I think, and here's why I think it, and I should be able to justify my numbers and show you exactly why I think that your house is going to sell for this number. It's a very important conversation that you need to have, and a lot of times real estate professionals are too scared to have that conversation and be real with you. So sometimes they'll draw up a listing and they'll price it where they think you want it to be just to get the listing, and then they'll try to do price reductions on you after about 30 days. They'll say, oh, now we need to do a price reduction. It didn't sell. And then it'll anger you because you said, well, you told me I can get this. That's why I went with you in the first place. And, it's just a redundant conversation that goes on and on and on. So I would say, stay away from that type of thinking. But just for the sake of this argument, the pricing is not the only thing that could have gone wrong. I mean, as I mentioned, your expectations could be off. Also, your marketing strategy might be out of place. I mean, I'd look at what did your real estate professional do for marketing? And in my world, when I do listings, I have to market in two different aspects. I have to market in the physical world and in the digital world, the online world. And so if I direct on my marketing strictly to the physical world, I'm really limiting myself. Now, there's a lot of real estate professionals out there who will get your listing, slap it on the MLS, and hope it sells. And, that's not necessarily the type of person you want representing you. And you should really, when you're getting a listing, whether your listing is expired or it's a new listing, you should make that real estate person justify his commission and what he's going to do for you. And, I think that you should not be necessarily impressed with bells and whistles. Don't be impressed because they come from XYZ big company. That's nonsense. You have to, it's almost like an interview process, and you should treat it like an interview process. What is that real estate person going to do for you? What are they going to do? Oh, just because they work at XYZ company, all of a sudden everything's going to be great? Well, that's funny. You should come to my office and you should sit there and look at the amount of expired listings. You know what? XYZ company has a lot of expired listings. So what you need to do is figure out, what are their marketing strategy? Are they going to be marketing through social media? Are they what type of online marketing? And if they're going to say, oh, well, we're going to put it on Trulia and Zillow, and we're going to put it, well, everyone does that. Tell me, what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do to sell my house? Why should I give you this much money? Tell me why I should give it to you. Ask them. Make them tell you why and how they're going to market. You're listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer. I am Michael Gaddis of michaelgaddis.com, and we are discussing expired listings. So going back to our discussion, why should I give you this much commission? What are you going to do for me? Well, I'm going to have open houses. Well, what else are you going to do? And how many open houses are you going to have? And let me just tell everyone listening, there's a couple ways you could get people to online. But online, to open houses. Open houses, a lot of them, it's very few and far between that people just driving through neighborhoods just happen to come across a house and go in. Most of the time, they've done their research. And where did they do their research before they are going to open houses? They do it online. The National Association of Realtors states that over 91% of buyers look to the internet at some time during their home search. 91%. Whenever I go on a listing appointment, I bring tons of statistics with me. I'm a big numbers guy. I believe in statistics, and I believe in analyzing, numbers and situations. I'm a research fanatic. So I will tell you more about numbers and things than you ever care about. And one of the things I bring to every one of my listing appointments is basically a set of statistics basically talking about where buyers are going and how they're finding houses. They actually have a report issued by the National Association of Realtors that states, breaks down where people are finding their houses, how they're looking. It breaks it down by age brackets too. So it tells you people between the age of 25 and 30 are looking here, and 35 and 45 are looking here. It'll basically break down and tell you where you should be putting your marketing resources. Where should you be putting your power? Home magazines? Oh my gosh, they don't even rank. I think they put an asterisk there. So but you need to know this. You need to know where the marketing is going. How are you going to sell my house? Don't just sit there and sign a listing agreement because the first guy you call shows up with a listing and is pressuring you to sign it. They have whole courses for real estate professionals that teach them to try to close you on the first deal. That's what they want you to do. They want to close you. That's it. They're trying to close you, and most of you let it happen. No, step back. Take a deep breath. Say, you know what? That's great. I'm glad you have that, and you're pushing that listing agreement to me. But you know what? You're the first person we talk to. We're going to talk to two more, and then we'll make a decision after that. Don't get pressured into signing. They're trained to try to get you to sign on that line. They go to courses on it. They spend a lot of time and resources trying to figure out how to make you sign on that listing. But that doesn't mean that they're the most prepared. They spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to make you sign, but do they spend that same amount of time trying to figure out how they're going to sell your house and how they're going to show you they're going to sell their house? That's what you need to be looking at. What are you going to do for me? Not just because you're from XYZ company and we have international exposure. That's BS. I'm telling you right now, don't fall for that. Interview people. Find out what they're going to do for you and pick your person. Another thing that comes up frequently that I see are very poor pictures in my analysis of expired listings. Pictures are key. You have to have a professional photographer take the pictures. I have a professional grade camera. Okay? If you saw my camera, you would think, man, he knows how to take pictures. I do not know how to take pictures. I do not know. And I will prove it to you. You can take a professional photographer who is familiar with it can't just be a photographer. You have to be a real estate photographer. And if you take a real estate photographer's camera and I stand right next to him and we take the same picture, the same room, I guarantee you 100 times out of 100, you could pick his picture over mine because mine are terrible. That's why I don't take pictures myself. I thought I could. That's why I own the camera. I thought, well, I don't need to hire a photographer. I'll just take them myself. And you know what? I tried that, and they sucked. They were so bad. And because over 91% of people look to the internet for their houses, what do you think they're seeing? They're seeing the pictures. So if I take crappy pictures, that's what they're going to see, crappy pictures. And I'm telling you, a professional photographer can make a difference. So it kills me, literally kills me when I look through the internet, the MLS, and I see all of these people with these $1 million plus listings, and they don't take professional photos. I'm like, how in God's name did you get the listing in the first place? How did you do that? Because you must be like, a magician or something like that, where somebody would be willing to sign on their name on a contract and have you do subpar work. That is amazing. You must be like their buddy or something. Because I'm telling you, that does not happen at a quality shop. And if I look through MLS listings, I can tell you who is quality and who is not. So the last thing I want to talk about right before the break is the description, and we don't have a lot of time, but I just want to say, people need to spend time on the description. I spend a lot of time writing up about your house. Okay? I spend a lot of time doing it, and it's 3, 4, 5 paragraphs long. A lot of times I'll see 1 or 2 sentences from people. Great house, good area. You need to spend some time, researching. So when I look, to end this little conversation, when I look at expired listings, I could see so much into it. There's so many reasons why you probably had trouble selling that house, much more than just the price. So we'll continue this conversation another day. But after the break, we're going to go back to talk about one of my favorite topics. We're going to talk a little bit about reverse mortgages. You're listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer.
If you've got questions, we've got answers. AM 1170, The Answer.
Hey, San Diego, Craig Sewing here. Look, one of the things that nobody likes to hear is that they got bugs in their home. Almost all California homes have some sort of bug or termite problem. It's not a cool thing to have bugs running around your house, so I'm going to help you get rid of them. I want you to connect with Lloyd's Pest Control. These are our good friends of the Craig Sewing Show. They can help you. They've been in business putting bugs out of business since 1931. They'll do a free inspection for you. If you want to get your biggest investment checked out, make sure there's not bugs or termites, go to LloydPest.com. That's LloydPest.com and get a free inspection of your real estate today. Hey, Craig Sewing here. There's no shortage of commercials out there, whether it's TV, radio, even social media. And heck, I even saw an infomercial for solar. You see it everywhere these days. Well, it's because solar is important. It can reduce your electric bill. It's good for the planet. And it's just a great thing to do with your home. It can add value to it. However, there is so much misinformation. Just because somebody is out there advertising does not make them a reliable source. I want to introduce you to my good friends with Baker Electric Solar. The owner, Mike Teresa, I've got to know him really well. This is the only company that I would recommend for you to reduce your electric bill through solar energy. Such a smart move. It's time to do it. Here's how you reach out to them. BakerElectricSolar.com. BakerElectricSolar.com. They will talk to you for free. They'll give you an assessment, and they will help you reduce that electric bill. And again, this is the only group that I trust. BakerElectricSolar.com.
Who would you rather have representing you when buying or selling your home? A real estate agent or a real estate and mortgage broker who is also a licensed California attorney? To sell your home for top dollar, or if you're facing a forced sale due to divorce, probate, short sale, or bankruptcy, you'll need the added value and marketing services of a realtor with the knowledge and experience of a licensed attorney and mortgage broker on your side.
Hi, I'm Michael Gaddis. I give you more, but it doesn't cost you more.
Visit MichaelGaddis.com. That's Michael, Gaddis.com. DRE 0146543 and MLS 28001.
Welcome back to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis of michaelgaddis.com and frontierloangroup.com. And we're going to talk a little bit about one of my favorite topics. If you listen to the show, you know I talk about it quite a bit, reverse mortgages. Now, for all of you out there who, when I mention the word reverse mortgages, just crinkled up your face and go, ooh, you need to really listen, because things are different now, and in order to really understand have an opinion on reverse mortgages, you should really understand them first, because they're growing in popularity, and a lot of the problems that they had have been addressed. And I'll give you an example of that. I was looking through an article, just to prepare for the show on reverse mortgage news. And one of the things I found was an article that was in an Orlando newspaper. And it says, local woman loses home to reverse mortgage company. Husband's death forces her out. Now, I know when you read that headline, you're thinking, oh my God, these reverse mortgages are the most awful things in the entire world. Well, let me tell you what really happened here. What happened is that they put her on this note. Actually, they didn't put her on the note at all. They put the husband on the note and left her off the note. So when the husband died, she had no affiliation with the note whatsoever. And because she didn't have an affiliation with the note, the terms of the note say when the borrower dies, the note comes due. So that's what happened in that situation. Now, the rules have changed. Now, non-borrowing, and why did they do that? That's probably your question. Well, why did they leave her off the note? Well, my guess is that they left her off the note at the time because of qualification issues. Either she was below 62 at the time, or there was something was preventing her from being on the note. So whoever originated the note basically said, well, we should not put her on the note, and we'll take, him on the note. And that's what happened. So what happened is he passes away. She's not on the note. And the reverse mortgage company says, okay, the note is due. Now, the rules have changed, because now, even if you're a non-borrowing spouse, you can be listed on the note, and you have the same rights of occupancy as the borrower. So now that really comes into play if one of the borrowers is below the age of 62. So let's say you have a wife that's 70 and a husband that's 58, the husband can be put onto the note as a non-borrowing spouse. That way, they're identified to the mortgage company, to the reverse mortgage lender. And if the wife passes away, the husband could continue to live in the house because they're named as a non-borrowing spouse. So the rules have changed. So if you see an article like that, it might be a remnant of the past, and the new rules have changed that. But then, with that being said, here's what it comes down to. When you're getting a reverse mortgage, or you're thinking about a reverse mortgage, or someone you know and love is thinking about getting a reverse mortgage, it's all about education and knowledge. I stress that no matter what I do. No matter what I do, whether I am practicing law, or I'm helping somebody with a real estate, or I'm helping people with a reverse mortgage, I'm all about education. In fact, I give you so much knowledge, it becomes nauseous. You'll become nauseous because you're tired of listening to it. But it's important to me to ensure that you have a very good understanding of what it is. That's why I have workshops all the time for people that are thinking about getting a reverse mortgage. And anyone is invited. Their loved ones, pastors, whoever wants to attend my workshop, they're more than welcome to come, because I think the key is education and knowledge. And my workshops last about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, depending on the questions. And I go through the nuts and bolts of reverse mortgages. And every time one of them ends, everybody always tells me, well, I'm really glad I came. I didn't really expect it to be this in-depth. But that's my personality, and that's what you're going to get. So I think that's really important. And I'll tell you why, because more and more financial advisors are basically stating that reverse mortgages are becoming a viable option for retirement plans. More and more, I'm reading articles all the time. I mean, I have one right now, and this one says, it's entitled, Seniors May Find Reverse Mortgage a Good Option as Other Investments Decline. And this is from seniorjournal.com. So, you could see that that the reputation of reverse mortgages is beginning to change, and there become viable options for seniors who either, some of their investments didn't pan out the way they did, or maybe they didn't plan the way they probably should have, but they have a lot of equity in their home. It can really be like a life preserver for retirement. So it's something that's becoming more and more prevalent, and I think that that it comes down to just knowledge and education. It just comes down to learning what a reverse mortgage is, what are the pitfalls, what do you need to know, and if you know everything, then it is the easiest loan in the world to really get your hands around. You just have to spend a little bit of time with someone who really knows it. That's the key. It's funny, whenever somebody comes to me, and one of the requirements of reverse mortgage is that you have to have be counseled by a HUD counselor. Now, these counselors are third parties, and they're supposed to basically make sure you understand how a reverse mortgage works and the pros and the cons, and that's their job. After my workshop, at the end of my workshop, I tell everybody, if any of you are going to proceed with a reverse mortgage, you're going to talk to a third-party counselor, and I think it's a great idea. I'm a big fan of the third-party counselors. I think it's really they provide a good sounding board. But I will tell you something: you will learn more you will learn 1,000 times more in my workshop than the HUD counselor will tell you. And every one of the people who take my workshop after they take the counselor tell me the same thing. They're actually let down because they actually know more than the counselor does by the time I'm done with them. And so it's kind of like, wow, it's kind of really rudimentary. They didn't really get into much, and that's not their goal. Their goal is just to basically give you a basic understanding. My goal, my function is to give you a very in-depth understanding of it, and I'm very proud of how I put on these workshops and how much time I spend with people and trying to make them understand. And especially now that I'm reading more and more of these articles, as I mentioned, that are saying that reverse mortgages are really, really good products and can be used in a quality, financial plan for retirement. So I think that's a really big thing. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, what do you do? Do you go to, I'm sure you see lots of commercials for reverse mortgage. You got the AAG and all these other commercials that are just blasting you with Henry Winkler, Fonzie, and everybody else is out there pitching these reverse mortgages. Who do you do? Do you go to a direct lender or do you go to a broker? You're listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am Michael Gaddis, your host of michaelgaddis.com and frontierloangroup.com, and we're talking about whether or not you should use a broker or a direct lender to get your reverse mortgage. Now, I am a broker, and I will tell you the advantages of a broker over a direct lender. I know a lot of people, whether it be a forward or reverse mortgage, always say, well, I'm going to go directly to a lender. Brokers have a lot of power that direct lenders don't. We have more flexibility, even with the same company. I went up against a very prominent reverse mortgage recently. The person who came to me says, I'm going to shop you, which is fine with me. Shop me all you want. First of all, because I taught you how to shop me in a reverse mortgage, because that's one of the things I do at the reverse mortgage workshop is I literally teach you how to shop me so that you know that I'm giving you the best deal that I am. So I said, fine, shop me. Go to anybody you want. Go to a direct lender. Do what you got to do. So this particular borrower went to a direct lender and she got her quote. She did not tell me what her quote was, because that's one of the things I tell you. Don't tell me what they're giving you. And then I gave her my quote. And she says, oh, well, your quote's much better. I'm going to go with you, which is great. I was happy about that. Afterwards, she turned to find out that I put her with the same lender that she was trying to go directly to. And she goes, well, I don't understand. How did you beat them? And I said, I beat them because I have more flexibility on the wholesale side, okay? I don't just work with one lender. I have several lenders that I can put you with, and the lenders are different. They have different types of, ways that they underwrite and things like that. So I said, with this particular one, I knew that they had good pricing, so I could get you a good margin on your reverse mortgage. And so she said, wow, I'm really impressed that you were able to beat them by so much. Well, as I've told you before, in my reverse mortgages, you got to watch out for, upfront costs, and you have to learn about what those upfront costs are. Which ones can you negotiate? Which ones can you not? Which ones are set in stone? How can you get around them? Are there ways? There's lots of different things you can do. But I have the ability to give credits. I can give different types of things, incentives to my borrowers to be able to give them the best best pricing that's out there. And that's why I can beat a lot of the direct lenders. And the funny thing is you end up in with those direct lenders anyway, because I'm signed up with them as on their wholesale side. So I can, so if you're thinking about, I'm going to go directly to AAG or whoever it might be, I'm probably signed up on their wholesale side as well. So that means that I'm able to have more flexibility than the loan officer that's talking to you on the other side, because of the fact that I'm a broker, and the wholesale side is different than the retail side. So keep that in mind when you're shopping for a reverse mortgage. And as I said, this is our weekly little conversation about reverse mortgages, and I hope you get something out of it, because it's not just for the seniors, it's also for the seniors, the loved ones of the seniors. So everyone has loved ones that may be thinking about it. Well, after the break, I'm supposed to have a special guest who's not quite here yet. So when we get back from the break, we'll see if my special guest made it or not. You're listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer.
AM 1170, The Answer.
What if you could safely grow your retirement account with a reasonable rate of return with no risk of principal? Hi, this is Dave Harris with Wealth Preservation, specializing in retirement income and insurance planning. There's nothing I enjoy more than helping San Diegans protect and grow their retirement savings. For over 4 decades, we have helped families achieve financial success. If you need help with your retirement planning, please visit me online or call me today. My number is 800-313-PLAN, or visit me online at wealthpreservationllc.com.
Your Social Security number is at more risk than you think. Personal information like your Social Security number, bank account information, and your taxes need to be protected. Hi, I'm Angie Stanley with Oakwood Escrow. As a consumer, when you're buying, selling, or refinancing a home, you do have a choice in who you use for escrow. Oakwood Escrow has gone to extreme measures to make sure your private information is kept safe and secure. Call me today and reference The Craig Sewing Show to receive a custom gift at the close of your escrow. Call 858-217-5248, 858-217-5248, or visit oakwoodscrow.com.
Who would you rather have representing you when buying or selling your home? A real estate agent or a real estate and mortgage broker who is also a licensed California attorney? To sell your home for top dollar, or if you're facing a forced sale due to divorce, probate, short sale, or bankruptcy, you'll need the added value and marketing services of a realtor with the knowledge and experience of a licensed attorney and mortgage broker on your side.
Hi, I'm Michael Gaddis. I give you more, but it doesn't cost you more.
Visit michaelgaddis.com. That's michaelgaddis.com. DRE 0146543 and MLS 28001.
Your home should be a place that you love coming to. Hi, I'm Nikki Klug, interior designer, and there is nothing I enjoy more than helping San Diegans live in homes that they fall madly in love with. I've helped hundreds of homeowners experience a sense of luxury, rejuvenation, and inspiration in their everyday lives. If you need help creating a home that you love, please visit me online at nikkiklugdesign.com or call me at 619-948-7173.
Welcome back to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer. I am Michael Gaddis of michaelgaddis.com and frontierloangroup.com. And by the grace of God, my special guest has made it. My special guest today is Brian Andrews of briancandrews.com. He is one of the top litigation attorneys in the entire Southern California, not just San Diego, all of Southern California. And if you have a situation involving a litigation, I strongly suggest you to talk to Brian Andrews of briancandrews.com. Now, thank you for joining me today, Brian.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for the kind words. Happy to be here.
Now, I know you were running a little close because you had a bunch of fires to put out today because, in the litigation world, that's all it's about. You're like a fireman, aren't you?
I am indeed. I had a gentleman call me this morning whose sale's only 2 weeks away, and we got 2 court holidays between now and the date of his sale. So we're running on the treadmill to get him taken care of.
Nothing like last-minute clients with trustee sales around the corner to, with bank holidays in between to really get your blood moving. Isn't that right?
There's no doubt about it. And if I may, it's probably a good segue to a comment, which is that so many people try to handle these type of fights themselves. And this gentleman's a classic example. And, he, obviously I won't ever use a client's name on the air, but by way of lesson for everybody else who has a situation like this, this gentleman's already taken himself through a bankruptcy, and he probably missed some of the benefits he could have garnered there. And now he's tried to file or start to file his own loan mod applications, which I would also posit most of the time is a mistake. It's far better to seek the help of someone who's an expert like Frontier Loan to help guide you in that process. And now that that's going astray on him, he's even was on the verge of trying to file his own lawsuit when wisely he picked up the phone and called me. But to some degree unwisely, because it's so late, we will make it in front of a judge and make an effort to get a restraining order and stop that sale. But the lesson for everybody listening is this is not a self-help situation. This is something where you really need some experts who know the ins and outs of the loan modification fight and the ins and outs of a court litigation if you have a piece of property that's distressed or in danger.
Well, I cannot reiterate what Brian said anymore. I mean, there's an old saying, a person who has himself for a client. What is it? What's the old saying? It's
only a fool has himself for a client.
I mean, and that goes through for people too, individuals, because, like Brian said, so many people get involved with bank litigation. If they're in danger of losing their house, they think, oh, well, I can handle this myself. The lender says I don't need anybody's help and I can do this by myself. Yeah, you sure can. And then you'll be calling Brian at 2 weeks before his sale saying, well, they didn't do what they said they were going to do and it didn't work out the way I thought. And then, I always say it's like the difference between being proactive and reactive. You could put your head in the sand like an ostrich and then hope that none of this bad stuff is happening to you. Or you can be, proactive and say, you know what, I need to seek guidance early in the process to try to get a plan together to give myself the best opportunity to try to be victorious. And I will tell you that when it comes to litigation, if you give somebody some sort of, heads up and some planning, it can go a lot different, can't it, Brian?
It absolutely can. It's also obviously more cost efficient. I mean, at this point, rush service will have to be paid for everything. And anything done in a rush is never done as perfect as we would like it to be done, and it always comes with extra costs. So, yeah, the folks who are the wisest come seeking help, either before a notice of default ever hits or at the very latest once that notice of default records. I'm sure anybody who's been in the real estate game who's listening, and for those of you who aren't, when that notice of default hits, you're only 90 days away from a lot of trouble with your bank. You've only got 3 months to kiss and make up with them somehow, or you're potentially looking at a notice of sale. The notice of sale only gives you 20 days notice about your property. So, drop dead total, you've got about 3 weeks maybe from the time that notice of default hits. And you could have, UD papers on your door throwing you out of your own home. So take it seriously, get in the fight early, get to an expert like Michael who can possibly save your day with a loan modification and keep you out of the litigation. But either way, whether it's a combined effort or whether you're sure you want to go straight to litigation or you're confident you've got a rock solid loan mod case, get in the game early, get to experts, get some help. And, if you get a raw deal, be aware that Andrews Law Group's out there and we're happy to help. And as Michael said, my website's briancandrews.com. But I always recommend to exhaust every effort to get a loan modification before you turn to a litigation option.
Well, and another thing I want to talk about, because I'm sure if you're in distress right now, if you're listening to this show right now, whether you're driving or sitting in your home, I'm sure if you go to your mailbox, if you've received a notice of default like Brian, you probably got 5,000 letters and 5,000 communications with everybody promising you leprechauns and unicorn and pots of gold and everything's going to be hunky-dory. Well, that's not reality, people. Let me just tell you that. Reality is not pretty. It's a difficult fight, and anybody who makes it seem like it's easy, you need to shy away from, because it's not easy. And the other thing you need to make sure is that you're getting somebody who has a lot of experience, and you're actually dealing with a real attorney. You do not know how many calls every week I get from people who say, "Well, I was working with this law group, and and now everything's going to hell." And I'm like, "Well, did you ever talk to the attorney?" "Well, they would never let me actually speak to the attorney." Well, that's probably because they don't even have an attorney there. They're probably using somebody's license. So vet your people too. Vet the people who are going to help you. And that's what I want to talk about, Brian C. Andrews, briancandrews.com. He has a lot of experience litigating against banks. How long have you been litigating against banks?
Oh, I started this right in the 2008 crisis. I was really blessed to meet a man whose name I don't mind dropping on the show. His name is George Mantor, Mantor. And George is a great soldier in this fight. And he brought me a client or two and acted as my mentor. George was one of the people that was writing about this before it ever happened. And Heck, if anything, George is pounding the sand now, wondering why he's not the star of that movie, The Big Short, where you see the gentleman who was wise enough to see this coming and who bet against it and made millions and billions of dollars. But I learned, to answer your question, I learned this early on. I learned it just as it was happening, and I've read every book and every treatise and every case that's ever been filed and every appeal case, and I'm a big student of it. I consider myself an activist. It's why I stay in the fight. A lot of lawyers have shied away from this fight, but it's one that needs fighting.
It's kind of, one of the reasons why I like Brian a lot is because, like him, I've been in the trenches since the beginning. We have been dealing with lenders in different capacities and different ways. We use different methodologies to try to cure our help our clients, but we have both been fighting the same battle since the very beginning. We're kind of like one of those war movies. You go to watch one of those war movies and there's two sergeants. There's one that's all, fresh and clean right from boot camp, and you see the other guy, he's got like scars on the side of his face. He's all gritty and he's not super friendly, but he's been there 1,000 times. That's us. Believe me, as a new recruit, which sergeant do you want to be with? You know what I'm saying? You want to be with the guy who's freshly clean, right? Or you want to be the guy who's grizzled, who's been in the trenches for a long time? And that's what Brian is. Brian is one of those sergeants there.
Well, bless you and thank you. And it reminds me back to what you were saying a minute ago about all the letters that you'll get as soon as you fall into notice of default, and be extra wary. There are some good soldiers out there who might be in the habit of sending out solicitation letters, but I find it to be the great exception to the rule. 9 out of 10, maybe 99 out of 100 of those letters you're going to get is somebody who's got a system set up that's really designed to generate income for their law firm. It's not designed to do a house-by-house fight like we're doing for our clients. Every case needs a customized complaint. Half these guys are selling you just a check the box or fill in the blank or mass filing type complaint. One size fits all, maybe is a better way to put it. So as Michael stressed, look into these people. If you find a good one, bless your heart. There's very few people who mean well, who are in this fight on the side of the homeowners. There's dozens of people who see this wave and this dispute and who are manipulating it to make profits for their business. Anyway, buyer beware.
Well, I've had the pleasure of actually seeing Brian in action, and let me tell you something. I saw him in this case, and the judge kept trying to tell him to not talk about what he wanted to talk about. He kept talking about it anyway. He was waving papers in the judge's face, saying, "Judge, you got to listen to me. You got to listen to me." The judge kept saying, "Put that down, put that down." Finally, after probably saying it 10 times, the judge took him back behind in quarters and, away from the rest of us, came back out and basically ruled in Brian's favor. And I thought that was the funniest thing because she's trying to shut him down. So anybody out there, I want to, remind you, if you're in need of any type of litigation, especially bank litigation, Brian Andrews of BrianCAndrews.com is your man. Brian, thank you for coming in today. I really appreciate you taking time. I know you were rushed today, but thanks a lot for taking the time to join us today.
It's my great pleasure. The firm is the Andrews Law Group. My name is Brian Andrews. I really appreciate being a guest today, Michael. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I want to thank everyone for listening to the Michael Gaddis Show today. As you know, I am Michael Gaddis from MichaelGaddis.com and FrontierLoanGroup.com. I am serving all of your real estate and mortgage needs. You can always contact me via my websites, or you could call 760-692-5950. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next Wednesday night at 8 p.m.